6 viewers. That's amazing. Okay, let's begin. All right, we're beginning. It says my viewer count was 6, so we had several people waiting to start, and I'll start a minute early. This is Thursday, second period, Computer Science 1, and we're going to talk about nothing new. I'm not starting a brand new thing, but recapping where we are, what the plan is, posting a new step today, and getting back on track with our weekly schedule after the snow days. So here's the link, and I'll post the link in the assignment when I post the assignment in a few minutes. And just to recap what we've done is we had this chatbot project and the assessment part. I've graded some of those. I'm going to continue to grade some, hopefully finish them all tomorrow, because after that, when we come back next week, we have 2 weeks. 2 full weeks is a nice amount of time to catch up on what we need to catch up on, fix things, do our last few assignments and assessments, especially because they're big grades. So for this CodeHS, just to quickly recap, we did these at the beginning of the year. We did these for extra. We did something kind of like this, even though it wasn't the same. And I'm probably going to assign this later in quarter 4. Skipping a few, now we're on this project called Designing User Interfaces. And it's very well suited for the chatbot. It's not made for it. It's not made by the same people or anything. But if you're doing the chatbot and you're doing this, you'll see that they should connect pretty well, because the chatbot is 50% user stuff, right? It goes back and forth. You take a turn, the computer says something, and then the user takes a turn. So you really have to know what they're going to say, or nudge them to say certain things, or react when they say what you didn't expect. And it's really based on knowing the user. Now, we haven't talked much about that in our last project. I said just assume that the user is another student, somebody who has similar knowledge to you and a similar device to you. But in the 4th quarter, when we do our upgraded chatbot group project, we're going to talk about making it for a specific type of person who might need help with a certain thing, or might need answers of a certain type, and they probably aren't the same as you. They probably have different devices, or different physical capabilities, or different knowledge. They might be older, etc. So this unit is a little bit about code and specifics, but mostly about imagining a user and then looking in real life. What do they say? What do they want? What can they do? And that kind of thing. Last time I posted an assignment to do this part, Intro to Design Thinking, and it looks like a lot because there are a bunch of short steps. Next, I'm going to post one today that says do this part, the Empathy 9.2. If you haven't finished the first one, if you have worked ahead, it's totally fine. I'm just separating them into multiple grades because it takes more than one day, and it takes more than one day to grade, etc., etc. If we get to the end, that one will count as an assessment, and I'm trying to get more assessment points in general. The category of your grade is worth a lot, so I don't want it to be based on 1 or 2 things, and I don't want it to be based on 1 or 2 things that are the same. So if we have your project and a quiz and another thing, it'll be more spread out, and if you miss one or do badly on one, it won't automatically ruin all your quarterly points, okay? So as you know, during the snow days, I kind of scrapped what we were going to do as a plan, which was a group thing, and I'm changing it around. Next week, I'll announce what our final thing is for the quarter, but again, I'm not going to bring in something new out of the blue, and I'm not going to make the assessment category really dependent on 1 or 2 things. I'm going to try to have it diversified and spread out as much as we can. So let's talk about one example, and then I'll end this video before it becomes super long. Let's talk about one example of this designing user interfaces thing. And I wanted to show something different from a chatbot. So you guys are doing a chatbot which is all text. It has a little bit of other stuff, like maybe a background image or maybe just colors that set the mood or something like that. But it is text. You can just tell the user what to do, and you can even put it in quotation marks, like say exactly this word if you want this. But my other class is doing something that's the opposite. It's all visual and no text. So let me show you. Here's a Replit. They're using Replit, even though it's a different programming language. My other class, my Computer Science 2, is doing a little game thing. You might remember I told you I was having them do Pong. We made a little Pong game. And then I said, well, take those objects and turn it into something else. So you've got circles and rectangles. You can make Breakout, and a couple people are doing that. Or you can make Space Invaders. Or this, an example I did in there yesterday, is you can make a platformer type game. So you got your little guy, and you can jump, and you can fall. And then yesterday we added a little moving platform that's like an elevator, and you can use it to get up high. And then we added this blue thing, which is supposed to be like a spring, like the springs in Sonic the Hedgehog, where if you land on them, you bounce. Now, that's cool, and we got to do a couple of lines of code for each one. But if you gave this to a user, they would say, what am I supposed to do? You know, they'd mess around for 20 seconds and figure out the physics of it. But then they would say, what's the object of the game? What's the goal? What am I supposed to do? And you need to give them some clues. Okay, for example, in games like this, it's usually a flag or a door that's like your goal. Like if you see a flag, you think, oh, I'm probably supposed to go there. And if you see a door, you think, oh, that probably takes me to the next room or the next level. So I would recommend putting one of those things into my, to the people in that class who chose to do a platformer. I'm going to say, hey, give me a flag or a door. You could just slap some text on the screen and say, like, get to the right side, but I don't know, that feels like cheating. And when we're doing stuff like that, I always remind them to think about the user. So, for example, if you have an object that's red, people are going to think that's dangerous. If there's a red barrel in a game, you think that's going to explode. Or if a red character, you think that's going to be low health and they're about to die. So there was one person who had red blocks that were like full health, and they changed to another color when they were about to break. And I said, you might want to switch that around, because people will assume red is critical. Red is about to explode. And in general, that's the kind of stuff you want to think about, is your user doesn't know what you planned. Your user doesn't know what you have behind the scenes. So with these chatbots, a lot of you guys had really written 10 question and answers with 2 layers each of like, if they say this, we're going to be ready. But if you open it up from the user side, they had no idea that that's what you were prepared for. They just saw a bot that said hello, and they said hello, and they said, okay, I guess that's it. So keep in mind that your user doesn't see the code. They don't see your intentions, but they would take some cues if you give them some cues. So one of the things we did in our last round of the chatbot was I told a bunch of people to beef up their opening message to say, hi, I'm a bot that does this, and you're supposed to do this, and then I will respond to this. And just tell the user what's going to happen. And that is part of it. But if you guys check out the CodeHS, you'll see some other parts. I'm going to stop this now before the video becomes super long. And I'm going to give you time. Today you can do that. You can do chatbot stuff if you're still on it. You can work ahead if you want, because the next one is going to be the next assignment. And I'll do a couple grades. I'll do a couple little feedback, comments, and so on. Tomorrow, I will... tomorrow's not a synchronous day, so it's not like each thing at a specific time. I'll just post something in the morning that says, hey, here's the plan. And then I'll spend a lot of the time tomorrow doing those individual grades, comments, feedback, etc. Maybe even, you know, emailing parents or other things like that. We'll see how it goes. Thanks.